And one of the things that I think is interesting to look at is the difference in what makes buying services different to buying goods. And when we first spoke, you started off by giving me a brilliant uh, background view on this, going quite far back in time to look at the differences. What do you see as the key differences between the two? What makes them different?
One is tangible and one is intangible. And so it is so much easier to buy a good that is physically tangible, that can be factory accepted testing, that can have site inspection when it's delivered. It can be quality tested. It can be broken down by a QA department before receiving an entire shipment. We know exactly its function. A screw is meant to tighten, a nut is meant to keep a screw in place, a refrigerator is meant to keep food cool, etc. Services are very intangible, and we don't really know what exactly they're supposed to do. If you hire a marketing expert to help you with your search engine optimization, what is it exactly that they're doing? They don't have any control over the search engines. They're just trying to make sure that the content on your website is marketed to a certain prospective buyer based on what they know about that search engine in a snapshot in time. 6 months from now, when that search engine optimization, for example, is released, the algorithms within those search engines could change, making much of what they did not as valuable. And we like to point fingers and say, you didn't do something. Because if you buy a refrigerator that does not keep your food cool, that's pretty darn obvious. But if you purchase a 6 month contract or a year contract for a fairly large company to improve your search engine optimization, to launch a new product or service, and the search engines that you're aiming at change their logarithms, the service may not be successful, but it's not as obvious to the buying company why it wasn't successful, what part made it unsuccessful. Was it a third party? Was it poor skill set of the supplier? Or was it that the buying company set the supplier up to fail? So it's a very different environment. And one of the things that really strikes me, and I talk with people who understand the history of business, it kind of clicks, is that a lot of, for the United States, the procurement um, morals, ethics, rules that we live by came out of the United States government out of World War II, when the United States government was purchasing to ramp up for our engagement in World War II. And so we were taking peacetime production, converting it into wartime production, and the Army was buying stuff. And at the time, the United States military and a lot of businesses, they did the services in-house. Everything from marketing to word processing to janitorial services, property management. Companies did all of that themselves in-house, and they bought stuff. We manufactured stuff. And when we came out of World War II into the 50s, then all those factories went back to consumer products, right? So we bought cars and refrigerators and built homes and schools. But companies through the end of the 60s still did a lot of their own services. So then you step forward into the late 80s and early 90s, and companies started outsourcing with a vengeance, right? They really started saying, hey, this is not our core competency, but some other company over here, it's their core competency. Take facilities management, for example. And if it's your core competency, Johnny, to do facilities management all across the United States, then I'm going to outsource that function to your company, and I'm going to pay you to manage my facilities. But Johnny, you're managing facilities for banks, grocery stores, department stores, car dealerships, car repair shops, dentist's office, doctor's office, lawyers' offices, you name it, right? And so you're an expert at facilities management. And then this company says, well, you're the expert. You manage the facilities to my expectations. And so now you can start to see a little bit of the breakdown. What are my expectations? My expectations, if I have a bank with a retail facility and retail, excuse me, in facilities management is going to be different than my headquarters, for example, right? Because our customers judge us on fraying carpet. No, this is a true story. No toilet paper in the ladies' bathroom. That was a
That would
huge
definitely be a
conversation.
yeah, that would definitely be a bad one.
Yeah, but do you see what I'm saying? Like all
Yeah.
of these expectations are now transferred to you as the outsourced facilities management company. And I want you to perform a service which is intangible to my expectations, but I have different expectations depending on the facility. And so now all of that's got to be laid out. Now we have to train people not how to maintain a facility, but how to oversee Johnny and Johnny's team to maintain that facility. So you might know everything there is to know about facilities management and hire 20 people who don't know anything about it, and you're going to train them up. And then now I'm, as the buying organization, I now need to oversee you and your team, and it gets more and more and more attenuated as we go. So here we are now in modern times in the 2020s, and we want to have companies do all kinds of things that are not considered our core competency. So it's not just outsourcing anymore, it's all kinds of gig projects. Hire a consultant to write a study, hire a marketing company to do your search engine optimization program for 12 months. There's all kinds of ways in which we engage services, but they're intangible. And my expectations are completely subjective to me as an organization, as a department, as a company, as a leader. And I could be in the same industry as three other people, but my expectations may still be different than my three competitors. And now you've got to meet my expectations on my terms. And if I'm not able to communicate that clearly, I've set you up to fail.